Hey guys, Tammy here. With the current property market booming, no doubt partly thanks to low interest rates, I know that a lot of you are exploring a variety of options when it comes to getting your home ready for its next stage of life. Now, whether that's because your family is growing or you're getting ready to sell or either upgrade or downsize, it's important to understand what your options are and what makes the most sense financially. Now, one key question is, should you renovate or knock down and rebuild? So recently I spoke with Gary Dan, the general manager of one of our sister companies, MyBudget. Now, Gary has over 30 years experience in the building industry. So I thought, who better to give us the inside scoop on the costs involved, along with the pros and cons of both options. So here's the rundown on what he had to say. Now, firstly, it's important to understand if you can actually knock down and rebuild. So doing this first might make your decision a lot easier. And to understand this, you should consider what your local council will allow and if you're in a position to borrow the money required for the project. Now, if you've done this and you're still weighing up the two options, here are some pros and cons of both. First, I'll take you through the benefits of a knockdown and rebuild. Now, benefit number one of a knockdown rebuild is that you have the opportunity to build with on-trend designs in mind, which could help with the sale of your home. Not only will your new home look great, but a new build would typically result in greater energy efficiency through the use of modern building materials. Now, not to mention, a new home can also mean less maintenance. Something else you may like to consider is that on a bigger block, you may have the opportunity to subdivide. Now, lastly, a new build will often come with a fixed price contract, meaning you know all of the costs up front, as opposed to a renovation, which can at times get out of hand. Now, let me take you through the cons of a knockdown rebuild. Something that many people might initially overlook is that when you knock down your home, you have to find temporary accommodation for about 1 year, which for many will feel like a much longer period of time, especially if it's with your in-laws. No, I'm just joking, but maybe I'm not. Anyway, in addition to this, not only will you have to consider the moving costs of moving out of your home, you also need to consider what it might cost you to move back in. And something else to consider is the upfront costs associated with demolishing your home. Now, depending on a few factors, this can cost around $15,000. Now, lastly, something that you may struggle with is saying goodbye to your family home. Many people have experienced special milestones within the walls of their abode, which can make the decision difficult. Now that you know a little bit about both options, you might want to consider if renovating might be the best option for you. So here are some of the benefits of renovating. If saying goodbye to your family home sounds like a difficult decision, renovating might be best for you. Now, renovating means you get to keep the things that you love about your current home, and in addition to this, depending on the scope of your project, renovating can be much quicker and less painful than rebuilding. And not to mention, it's likely that you'll still be able to live in your home while you renovate, saving you the inconvenience of relocating or living with the in-laws. Now, another consideration is that if you're willing to renovate in stages, you can spread the cost out over time. And lastly, some buyers actually prefer a well-maintained home with character over a new build. Now, particularly in some locations. Again, this is where researching your area is important. So finally, let's talk about the cons of renovating. Something that you should consider is how limited you are in what renovations you can do. You may have dreams of adding on a second story or knocking down walls, but it's important to consider if you have the foundations to do this. Personally, I've experienced my fair share of roadblocks when renovating, such as plumbing and electrical issues. Things come up that you might not expect, and they can mean that costs increase, as well as the time to complete the project can really blow out. Now, lastly, as I mentioned, if you are renovating your entire house, it could end up costing you more than a complete rebuild. So whichever way you go, it's important to take the time out and do some research and talk to a few experts along the way. Well, that's it for me for now. Remember, we are here to help you transform your life by transforming your money. For budgeting and money tips, savings hacks, and other practical tips, on how you can transform your money, head over to our blog that's jam-packed with free information, resources and tools. Our friendly expert money coaches are always here to help. And if you live in South Australia and you're thinking about building, we also have a dedicated team of industry experts that can turn your dream home into a reality. So visit myhomebuild.net.au if you want to find out more.